Give me a few moments of your time, and I have something to share which I believe it's very, very interesting. When it comes to relationship, I'm not an expert in the field, but I believe that I've accumulated a certain knowledge that puts me in a position where I can share. It's very clear that men and women are not the same. We're not the same, we're just built differently. We do not want the same things. Even the way that we relate with each other, it's totally different. So I've seen a lot of mistakes that people get to make in terms of having to use, maybe females getting to use female standards in order to justify themselves, or rather males having to use female standards as well. What do I mean by this? Let me give an example. If you have a man, a guy, and the guy is sleeping around with thousands and thousands of women, the way that we get to perceive that person is, the guy is a dog, he's a hero, he's a G. That is the general perception to look at that person doing that. But if we can get to look at a woman doing the exact same thing that the man is doing, then she's not considered a hero. She's not considered to be someone who is a role model. She's called names, a slut, a whore, and all that. It's a different world, I know, and there are fewer cases where we can use as exceptions, and exceptions don't make a rule. But in generality, that is how society gets to perceive those two people, two genders doing the exact same thing. So now it goes on to say that men and women are not the same, and we cannot use the same standards to get to look at what men and women do and judge them the same way, which is not the same, right? So the reason why I get to say this is that even the things that makes us attractive when it comes to a relationship, it's not the same thing. We don't look at the same thing. For a guy, I know a guy because I've been one my entire life, is that what I'm going to look for in a relationship, I'm very confident is that it's a different thing that a woman is going to look for in a relationship. Because as a guy, I know that I'm supposed to be the leader of the relationship. I know that I'm supposed to be the vision bearer of the relationship. That's why in most cases it is a guy that goes towards a woman and approaches them. Might not be the same, especially in the world that we're living in, but I'm speaking in generality. We can use exception as a basis of how things are operating. That is why when I get married to a girl, it is the girl that comes to my family. It is the girl that changes their surname into mine. So I lead and then the women follow, right? So if I'm a guy and I'm looking for someone to be in a relationship, it means that there are certain qualities in that woman that I'm going to be looking for, which are not the same things that a woman will be looking for maybe when they're looking for a relationship as well. For me as a guy, it would be, I would be looking for someone to be feminine. I'm not going to, that says that there can't be two bulls in the same crowd. So one has to lead, the other one has to follow. So I have to have someone who's willing to be dominated. This is not excuse for abuse or anything like that, but it's just the way it is. Even from the beginning, it has been built like that. I'm going to be looking for someone who's feminine. I'm going to look at someone who's submissive. And we get to look at submission as a bad thing, and it's not. It's entirely not. Submission, it's one of the best things that God has ever created, because whether we know it or not, we've always been submitting. The moment that you go to the mall and you have to pass through the door, you have already submitted to the security that's going to come and tell you that, let me sanitize you. let me check your temperature. That's submission. You're a student, you go to campuses, the moment that you get into class, you submitted under the leadership of the lecturer. Everywhere you go, you are basically submitting. It doesn't really matter where you go, but if you go to a structured kind of an environment, there is an authority that you're going to submit. When you're living in South Africa, you have to submit under the laws of the South African country, meaning that if you're on the road, you have to submit under the Department of Transport. When it says that it's 80 kilometers per hour, you submit under that. And if you choose not to obey that and you go over the speed limit, that is when there's going to be consequences. But whether you know it or not, submission is something that you've been doing all your entire life. So submission is a good thing. The difference, or rather what makes submission to be complicated, is the fact that when it comes to a relationship, when men, actually the problem with men is that they assume that submission is automatic, which is not. You have to be qualified, or rather you have to qualify yourself for someone to come and submit to you, meaning that you have to give a woman something to submit to before you can even claim that you want a woman to submit. You have to have that ability to have something solid, something structural going on with you, so that when a woman comes, she's submitting into something. So I'm going to be looking for someone who's going to be submissive and all that. I'm going to be looking for someone who maybe respect is going to be playing a major role, the way that we communicate, the way that you speak and all that. So I'm going to look for someone who's beautiful. Obviously the looks also count. There's just so many things that I'm going to get to look at, but there's a preference that I get to have, and which is totally different to what the woman will be looking for, because when a woman in general, when it comes to a relationship, they're going to be looking at someone who's well off financially. Someone might say that, but I don't really care about the finances. Let me tell you, my sister, you do care about the money. If you can have the same guy, maybe two different guys in a sense that they all possess the same qualities that makes them attractive to you. They all have the same qualities. They are the same height that you are looking for, if height is what you're after. The only difference is money. You are most definitely, if all the qualities are the same, if you want someone who opens the door for you, they both do that. If you want someone who treats you the way that they do, they all tick the right boxes, and the only difference is that the other one has more money than the other one. I'm very confident that you're most definitely going to go for the one who has more money, because money, also the ability to provide, plays a very huge role when it comes to a relationship. So women gets to look for that. They get to look for security. Women has to know that, if I choose this guy, I'm not gonna get to worry about a lot of things, other things. When you can bring them in the position where they're secure, then you're sorted. Women are looking for someone who's going to be there emotionally for them. So in most cases, when you get a man and a woman in a relationship and the woman gets to cheat, the person who has mastered the woman's emotions, it's easier for them to get to manipulate them and get them to cheat, because it's an area that women need. So if you are a guy who's able to provide emotional stability and comfort, whenever they are with you, they feel safe, because they know that you care about them, you care about the emotion, how they feel and all that. That is some of the things that they are looking for. What makes a woman attractive in a relationship, it's not the same thing that makes a man attractive in a relationship, because we are looking at different things. So now I get to see a lot of mistakes when it comes to females, that they get to use the same standards as men, meaning that if a man can do this, I can also do that. If a man can have a lot of money, I can also have a lot of money, which is not a problem. It's advisable for women to be able to take care of themselves, but you just have to come to an understanding that the ability of a woman to take care of herself, it is not what makes her attractive in a relationship. And that's why you get to say a lot of people who are successful are not necessarily relationship material. They don't have things figured out when it comes to relationship, because what comes with a woman having a lot of money is the fact that their pride grows. I don't need you. I don't need you as a guy. And a guy has to be in a relationship with someone who they know that, you know what, this person depends on me. And then I take pride as a man because of my ability to take care and provide for the person. So if a woman comes in a relationship with an attitude that, I don't need a man, their level of submission is just very, very low. Their feminism is very low. There's masculine. Like I said, there can't be two bulls in the crowd. One has to lead, the other has to follow. So there's a lot of things that comes with women having to get their own thing, because they believe that some of the things that makes men attractive are some of the things that makes them attractive. Meanwhile, men and women are not the same, and we don't get to look at the same things. So if we have this mindset of having to know and understand that we look at totally different things, then it gives us an opportunity to work on the areas that makes us attractive. A man is, when it comes to value, a man is not born with their own value. A man has to work for their own value. I've seen a lot of ladies, I've heard a lot of ladies saying that, if this guy comes in, this guy, I'm just sleeping with him just like that. He doesn't even have to say a word. I'm melting over this guy. Simply because I know it's not the case with everyone, different people do, but we can use exceptions to make the rules. In general, if you are a guy, for you to maintain a certain, respect in society, the way that society looks at you as someone who's attractive, you have to work really, really hard for you to get noticed. But as a female, you are born with your own value. Then it becomes your responsibility to make sure that you preserve that value. Men and women are not the same. We cannot look at the same things. We can use the same standards to judge the way that we get to handle things. The same reason why, even when it comes to going to clubs, even in parties, you get to see, saying that the entrance for guys is X amount of money, but ladies, you go in for free. So now, what we came to understand as guys is that we are living in a society with systems that are built to work entirely against us. So we understand the fact that what makes us valuable is something that we have to work really hard for. If you are just someone who's sitting at home doing nothing, it doesn't matter how cute you are or everything like that, that's totally unattractive. And you just have to make peace with the fact that it's just the way it is. It's just reality as it is. If you are going to be considered as someone who's attractive as a guy, you have to work hard for it. But it's different with a woman, that a woman does not necessarily have to work work for their own value. The women are just born with their value. It is their responsibility to preserve their own value. You have to preserve your value. That is why I say that, if you get to see a woman sleeping with a lot of guys, you don't consider that to be something that is exciting, interesting. If you're a guy, you're not interested in someone who has a long list of history of men, because it's not something that is attractive to a lady. So there's someone who gave this example, is that a woman is looking for someone who has a future. So if you have a future, even if you don't have a lot of money right now currently, but if there's something visible, tangible going on that a woman can see that this guy is going somewhere, they'll clearly hold on to you. You don't necessarily have to have all the money right now, but if they see that there's potential in him, then a woman will go for you. But it's different, because as guys, we're not necessarily interested in a woman's future. We're interested in the past. That is why you get to see that, if you were to ask a woman, how many men have you slept with? They're most definitely going to lie. The reason why you lie is that you know for a fact that somewhere along the line there's a value attached to your body count. Whether we like it or not, it's just the way it is. I don't want to be in a position where guys just in general don't want a woman to have a lot of history and all that. So women, it goes on to say that women are born with their value. It then becomes their responsibility to get to preserve that value. And then men are born without a value, and then they have to work very, very hard to then attain that social status. It is the market that dictates your value. So you can't be, as a woman, saying that I do this, and this, and this, and that. And then those things that you're doing becomes irrelevant, and then I can be a guy. And then I come and tell you that, you know what, but I have a lot of Nike sneakers. I have Air Forces, I have Jordans, I have what. Or I have what? I have nice clothes, what. It's good, but it's good for me. It benefits me, but it doesn't benefit you anyhow. So it doesn't make me attractive. So the same thing as a woman. Some of the things that a guy is looking for, it is not necessarily what you see in a guy and it's attractive, but the market that gets to dictate what your own value is. You just have to. Men have made a lot of peace with this fact that I have to work hard in order for me to be attractive in society. But a woman, what they need to do is not necessarily to work hard, because they're born with their own value. The only thing that they need to do is just to make sure that they preserve their value. There's just so many things that I can say concerning how men and women are not the same, we're different. And then by acknowledging these differences, it puts us in a position where we don't look at the differences as something that works entirely against us. The difference were built in to make sure that we get to come in and complement each other in the areas that I lack, because a guy is someone who thinks logically, you think straight, you are focused on what you're doing. It's good and all that, because you don't get to focus on the noise that is outside, but it's also dangerous because you don't get to see most of the things that are coming sideways. So when a woman comes into that relationship of a guy who's focused, who has a vision, who's very clear, she gets to pinpoint some of the things that the man would not be considering at that time. Like, but look at this thing, this and this and that. And then when you're on the road, you are driving as a guy, you're looking at where you're going, you're not looking at the mirrors. Then a woman comes in and tell you, but there's a truck coming, you need to slow down, you need to do all this, there are potholes there, you need to do this, so that both of us at the end of the day get to arrive at the journey safely, simply because I focus on what I'm doing and she comes in and complements what I do. So men and women, is in as much as we're different, we were built in with things that complement each other, so that when two meet, they become one. So that the areas that I lack, you get to fill them up, and in the areas that you lack, then you get to be sorted in that area, so that at the end of the day, the both of us get to become one thing.